Well, hello and welcome to the latest episode of Natterbox with me, Nicola Dawn, and my esteemed colleague and friend, Chris Bowers. Morning, Chris.
Good morning, Nicola. How are you?
I am really well, thank you. Very, very well.
Excellent.
How are you?
Then, I'm all right. Is this? I've lost track. It's our fourth or fifth.
Fifth? I think this is fifth, and this one is this one.
Wow.
Not to spoil the subject, but it's going to be released on World Menopause Day, I
Well, that
believe.
kind of spoils the subject, though.
It does,
It?
doesn't it? Really, but teaser in. So we're in October, so we're coming up to bonfire night, Halloween.
Where is this? This year, though. I mean, it's just whizzed by, hasn't it?
Oh, it's scary, isn't it?
I follow an account on social media that gives you a progress bar for the year, and we're more than 75% into 2025. It's just, I don't know if it's because we're getting old and time passes more quickly.
Speak for yourself. I'm going backwards like Benjamin Button.
No, I totally believe that. So, usual point of the podcast where we share each other's up list, but I think that we've got a mutual one, haven't we?
We do. We've got a joint one this time.
So it was our staff conference, blimey, it was about 10 days ago now, nearly 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
And part of the conference is that the firm hands out awards for various categories, and we both won one.
Yay!
Now I'm going to show you up a little bit because I've got mine.
Yeah, I'm in the office, so I haven't got mine to show off, but I have been on LinkedIn. It's my most liked LinkedIn post, I think. So me and my award.
So Culture,
Culture Champion for 2025. And you are Wellbeing
Champion of the Year for 2025. It was a complete shock. I had absolutely no idea that I was going to get this award. And I think part of it's really a joint award because I think a lot of it is down to this podcast.
Yeah, it was voted for by our colleagues, wasn't it? So it was nice because I think a lot of it was down to this, which is really lovely. Yeah,
so you can share this, but I don't think I can share yours because I think you'll probably have more culture than I do.
I don't know if listening to like copious amount of Steps and Kylie makes you a cultural guru. I'm not really sure.
Have you listened to Taylor's new album?
I'm saving it for the weekend, but I think it will be good. Yeah, you've got to have a treat. You've got to have a little treat. But no, I think it'll be a good one, obviously, because she always gets the bangers out, doesn't she? Not her bangers, the bangers. Yeah. Sorry, that was a slip. See if that makes it.
Keep that in. No, we got to keep that in.
Keep it in.
Yeah, so I think there needs to be a judge's inquiry, though. You winning Culture Award with all that sort of Taylor
going
and Steps
on. I know. I mean, I do love a bit of always at the theatre and that. But we went to see an Agatha Christie play the other day. But Death on the Nile.
Oh right, yeah.
But Poirot kept forgetting his lines, so they just had to go and shout line.
He shouted line.
He shouted like, and I did think of you because I thought Chris would not be happy with that because he would be the consummate professional.
So so I'm actually in another play, even though I promised I wouldn't do another one because of the time that it involves, and I'm actually playing the lead in Dial M for Murder.
Oh, I'll have to come and see that. So yes, when's that on?
It's last weekend in November, so whenever that is, and it's coming up fast as well. So I'm playing the dastardly Tony Wendis, so I have to put on my best RP. Thinking of growing a tash for it as well.
I think that'd look lovely. Well, can you get me and producer Catherine some free tickets for that then, maybe?
No, you have to pay for them.
What? No.
Of course, we're not a charity. So I've got some posters somewhere, so I'll put them around the office because it is really good play. But that's fast approaching. But I've no wood in the office, so touch wood. I've never had a cue, but that puts pressure on because thinking, is this going to be the time where it goes blank? Because you'll be on stage sometimes, and it's worse when you don't have something to say for a while because you'll be on stage and then you think something else, and all of a sudden you think, God, where are we? It's an absolutely terrifying moment. So, we haven't talked about the rules. So what are the rules? We don't do politics. No swearing, although apparently you did swear on the last one.
I don't know. I want a steward's inquiry on that. If I did and I offended anyone, I of course apologise wholeheartedly, and probably was just carried away in the moment. So.
You're stepping down for the podcast to spend more time with your family, reflecting on what
They
you've
don't
done.
want, no, they'd be angry with that. They'd be like, no, spend more time on the podcast.
So, as you not subtly alluded to earlier, it is World Menopause Day on the 18th of October, which is when this podcast is going out, because it's World Menopause Month, which coincides with World Mansplaining Month, obviously. So I think with that in mind, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, and this guest also won an award at the Forbes Staff Conference with Team of the Year. For her
Yes.
residential conveyancing team. But we're delighted to welcome on the Menopause Champion for Forbes, Amanda Martland. Welcome, Amanda, to the podcast. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? You okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. So thank you so much for coming on, particularly as it all coincides with Menopause Awareness Month, because we wanted to go into a bit more detail about menopause and mental health and touch a bit on your story as well.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about your story and your background and how you've come to be the Menopause Champion as well?
Yeah, of course. So menopause does affect mental health massively. And a lot of people aren't actually aware of that, because when people think menopause, they automatically think hot flushes, which it's common. People do think that, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not going through menopause. I've not had any hot flushes. It can't be that." But menopause actually affects our mental health more than anything else, and especially the initial effects, because the hormones that start fluctuating when we're going through perimenopause, which is estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're all actually made in the brain initially. So when they start fluctuating, going up and down, it affects how we function. And we start having low mood, anxiety, stress levels go up. We can't multitask like we would normally. Things that might not normally have overwhelmed us start overwhelming us. And the big one is brain fog as well, not being able to concentrate, word finding. So like if you're having a conversation and you're trying to grasp a word, or you're forgetting somebody's name. And all these things contribute to people suffering with the mental health. When women go to the doctors with things like that at a certain age, rather than them being diagnosed with perimenopause, quite often GPs prescribe antidepressants. And it's because there's a massive lack of training in the medical profession to do with menopause. So women end up being unsupported, misdiagnosed, given medication, not just antidepressants, but that's the main thing, but being given medication that they shouldn't be given, which obviously medications a lot of the time have side effects and long-term health issues. And that's what happened to me. So I wasn't given antidepressants, but way back when I was in another job, and 1 in 10 women end up leaving their job because of the mental health issues that follow perimenopause, and I was one of those 1 in 10. So when I was in my job, I started getting really stressed. My anxiety was sky high. I couldn't multitask. And I just wondered what was going on, because before that, I was really good at multitasking. I was really efficient, confident, loved my job. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't do what I wanted to do and felt like I couldn't do the job that I was meant to be doing. So I'd gone to the doctors and they signed me off with stress. I'd never been signed off before in my life. So that in itself had a massive effect on me, because you just feel like you're a failure and it's not a good place to be in. I did end up going back to work, but then just thought I can't do this. So I ended up resigning. And then about 6 months later, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there was a documentary on TV by Davina McColl Did you see that?
I saw
Yes.
it, yeah.
Yeah. And I was watching that, and some of the things that she was saying, I was relating to, because I didn't for 1 minute think that I was going through perimenopause, because I just didn't think I was old enough. I was old enough, but you just don't think about it because you just think it's something for the future, don't you? So I was relating to a lot of things that she was saying. So I remember downloading this checklist online that she'd told everybody about and ticking off some of the symptoms. And I was ticking off loads of things that you wouldn't even think are menopause symptoms, because it's not just the mental health side. There's other things as well, obviously, that go on. So I took this list to the doctors, and the doctor that I was seeing, I'd seen her since I was 17, and I trusted her implicitly. And I went and I sat down with her and I gave her this list and said, I think I'm perimenopausal. And she literally got this list and threw it on a desk and almost laughed at me and said, you're not perimenopausal. You've got an underactive thyroid. And I'm thinking, I don't think I've got an underactive thyroid. I mean, at that time, I didn't know what the symptoms for underactive thyroid was, but I went away and I Googled it, and I didn't have those symptoms. Anyway, I sat down with her and she started telling me about underactive thyroids and what can happen if you don't go on the medication, because I'm the sort of person that won't take medication for anything. I don't even take paracetamol. So for her to say she wanted to put me on medication, it frightened me really. I just thought, I don't really want to start taking anything. But because of the things that she told me that would happen to me if I didn't go on the thyroid medication, I thought, right, I'm going to have to take this. So I came away with the medication and I took it for 2 weeks, felt really, really ill, went back to the doctors. She reduced the medication dose, carried on taking it. All sorts were happening to me. I was feeling really spaced out. Parts of my body started going numb. So I thought, right, I'm not taking this anymore. So I went back and I saw another doctor, and he actually confirmed that my thyroid levels were okay and I shouldn't have been on the medication. And I told him about the other symptoms, and he said, it does sound like you could be perimenopausal. But by that point, I just completely lost faith in the GPs, because, well, I've been put on wrong medication for one thing, but I just felt like I wasn't being supported and listened to. So I ended up going private to a clinic, and I actually went to the clinic that Davina McColl mentioned in her book. She wrote a book as well as a documentary, and it was called Menopausing. Really good book to buy if anybody wants more info. And she wrote it with a doctor called Dr. Naomi Potter. And Naomi Potter has her own clinic. So I'd messaged her a few times on Instagram just with questions about what I was going through. And she was brilliant. So I ended up going through that clinic, and I was perimenopausal. So then they put me on HRT and felt great. Not straight away. I was on it for 3 months, and then you have a revised appointment, and then they tweak it if you need to have it tweaked. And I think it was about 6 months down the line, once I'd got my levels sorted out, I was great. Stress levels went, my anxiety reduced, all the other symptoms seemed to go away. But yeah, and so after that, I just thought, right, I'm going to research this. So I did. I researched it to the hilt, became a bit obsessed with it, read everything there is to read on it now. And I just didn't want women going through that. So the reason I do what I do now is because I want women to have somebody to speak to. I'm obviously not medically trained. I have done a course that's designed for GPs because I wanted more information on the medical side of it, but I'm not medically trained. But I'm here to offer women advice to say whether the symptoms they're having could be related to perimenopause, and then to give them the information to go to the GP to be equipped. It's like knowledge is power. So if you go to a GP and you're assertive and you think, yeah, I am going through perimenopause, I want HRT, then you're just in a better position for them to be able to help you.
How many people have come forward to you so far? Has the reaction been positive?
Yeah, so at work, before I was the menopause champion at work, I'd helped a couple of people here. Out of work, I've helped quite a few people because I've got my own, I've not got an Instagram or anything like that. I've just got my own little business card that I give out with my email address on. And so people have contacted me that way. In work, not many people have approached me. I'm hoping this will sort of spur people on to do it, because I think sometimes people find it a bit difficult to talk about. And we need to normalize the conversation. We need to just talk about it day to day. You know, I'll talk about it anytime, anywhere, but I know some people don't feel comfortable doing that.
No, because you were amazing, Amanda. The other week we had a little pre-podcast telephone chat, and I was like, oh, I think there's a couple of things that actually, now I've clicked and read a bit more about it, think, oh, I could potentially be kind of perimenopausal. And you were brilliant, and you were just saying, yes, that's probably that. And I was talking about, you know, a few years ago, if I'd wanted to lose weight, I'd do a bit of exercise and it'd drop off. And now, no matter what I do, it just, this belly will not shift. But even though I'm sort of trying, but I do love Kit Kats as well. So there's, so I say I'm trying, but then if I do a bit of exercise, I'm like, oh yeah, just have that bit of chocolate. But in all honesty, a few years ago, I could do that, and then I could lose the weight if I wanted to really quickly. But it's sticking, and brain fog. It's people's names sometimes. I just thinking it's there. I can think of it, but I just can't put my.
And it's so frustrating, and it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? If you're in like a meeting or something and you're wanting to say something, and then all of a sudden you can't think of the right words. It's like before we started coming on, I was saying to you, I'm bothered about getting brain fog and not forget to say something. It's horrible because it makes you avoid situations.
It's that stigma again, isn't it? I mean, we talk a lot about that on this podcast, because you mentioned a number of symptoms there which are sort of standard mental health issues, anxiety, you know, stress, and the brain fog, and those are things that if you feel that you are perimenopausal or menopausal, that those are things which might affect your ability to do your work. And what we're finding with the mental health conversation in Forbes is that people, I mean, the response we've got has been fantastic in comparison, I think, probably with other firms, but there's still that barrier where people think, well, if I own up to this, that I'm going through this, then people might think, oh, well, that might affect their ability to do their job. So how do you think, I'd be interested in your thoughts on how we break through that perception barrier.
I think again, just normalizing the conversation and making people feel comfortable that they can talk about what they're going through, and having those things in place in the office where they know that if they're just say, for instance, we'll take the hot flushes because they are a common symptom. And some women will find it hard to sit in an office. They'll be sweating and not knowing what to do and getting embarrassed because they can't cool down. If they know there's somewhere to go to where they can say, look, I need a desk fan because of this. And if they've got colleagues around them, being able to talk to colleagues that literally sit next to you or opposite you, so they know that if you're feeling like that, you're not weird. Or if you're having an off day where you're feeling a bit down and your mood's low, or you know, you're feeling anxious, you can sort of reach out and say to them, look, I'm having a really off day today. Don't take it personally. Please don't judge me. Because I think that's what a lot of it is. I think people are, like you're saying, Chris, people are scared of being judged and not keeping everything in. It's like with anything, isn't it? Anything mental health. If you can talk to somebody, it sort of lessens the load and you feel better, don't you? And it's exactly the same with this. The more people you speak to, the more people you realize are actually going through it. And the more people you speak to, the more they can empathize and support you.
Exactly. And that's what we tried to do on this, and say, look, you know, everybody's going through stuff. There's nobody on this planet who just even me wakes up every day and like tosses around and thinks brilliant. There's always stuff going on for everybody, and it's normalizing those conversations and having it as part of your everyday, that you do feel supported and you've got somebody you can go to. I always say you've got a trusted circle, haven't you, like at work and at home. And if you're feeling off or you're feeling down, just go and talk to one of your trusted circle and get it out there.
Yeah, 100%.
My route into this is Keller, my wife, who's also a partner in the firm, for new listeners. And I'm not telling tales out of school because she was a previous guest on the podcast and she talked about her experience. And it was funny you mentioned the Davina program, because Keller started having symptoms around the time that program came out, and it was revelatory, not just for her but for me as well. And it's you talk about your experience with your GP, and I'm just flabbergasted by that. The one profession you'd think could be all over this would be the medical profession, because it is something that has happened to women for probably thousands of years. And the idea that that a GP wouldn't be able to recognise something that every woman, I expect, will go through, I just find astonishing. And if that's the level of ignorance within that profession, but also there's a reluctance of some women to discuss it. When it comes to, and again, it's world mansplaining months, but when it comes to the partners of women or the men in women's lives who are going through it, we're not going to have the right tools to help our partners through it. If it's that bad at the levels where it should be a lot better. What's been your, obviously, the difficulty you've had with your GPs, but how do you talk about it with the men in your life?
Okay, so I'm really lucky because I've got a really supportive family, and I'm sure everybody does. But because of what I do, it's talked about openly and very frequently in our house. So at first, because there's my husband and a son. Well, I've got a son and a daughter, but you said the men in my life, so my husband and my son. I talk about it very openly with them. They know every single thing that goes on. To the stage where my son's in Bali at the minute, and he's friends with somebody there, and his friend was talking about his mum saying about her mood and everything, and Ben, my son, said, do you think she might be perimenopausal?
That is brilliant.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And I can tell you, I honestly think the progress that's been made these last few years has been immense. It's still not good enough, but in terms of awareness, it's been incredible, because and obviously there's your daughter as well. I shouldn't have excluded her, but I imagine that they have that education because they've gone through it. They've sort of been with you as you've become aware of it. But I imagine at the time when you had your diagnosis confirmed, none of you really had the tools to know how to how to help you and how to
I mean,
support you.
So before I had my diagnosis and before I went on HRT, I was hell to live with. I'll say that quite openly. I know what I was like, because with me, my mood was terrible. I turned into something horrible. I was so irritable. Anything that was in here used to just come out here, and I couldn't have lived with me. So that's what I mean. They're so supportive, and I remember, this is about my daughter now. I remember being out once with her, and we were talking to another man who was on about his wife to me. It was my hairdresser, actually, and he was on about his wife, and he was talking about whether she might be perimenopausal, and I was asking him the symptoms, and he was saying she was a bit irritable, and so I started talking about when I was being like that, and Rebecca was with me. That's my daughter, and I said to her, just say openly, what was I like? And she actually said, and it's like hit home, and it's really upsetting. It said, Mum was that bad, we forgot what she used to be like.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
how did that make you feel?
Oh, just it upsets me now. But I'm so glad that I found out what I did, and I'm on HRT, and you know, I'm not like that. I probably have my moments every now and again, but but I'm not like that anymore. And now and again, if I do have moments like that, one of them will say to me, "Have you got your patch on?"
Oh, it's funny you should say that. I get absolutely battered for saying that.
You've got to make light of it as well. You've got to see the funny side of it, haven't you? You know, it's not.
Oh, you do.
You know, it's.
Well, we've been joking recently because my partner Claire, obviously we're both women with the same age. We're both 43.
You're going through it the same.
Not to give away, so we're going to go through it pretty much probably at the same time. Now,
I don't know if that's good or bad.
is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because obviously we can be we are open about it, and she'll keep going, I think I'm perimenopause, and I think, and it's almost like a competition now who gets there first. It's like competitive. But I was reading something, and it's really interesting about obviously women same-sex couples, that this is it can be quite a pivotal point in the relationship because you're both going through this at the same time. So it's been quite interesting to read some stuff about that.
I suppose you can be more empathetic towards each other, can't you? But
Exactly.
if you're both sort of in one of those moods, it's like you're gonna
yeah, go out for a walk. I know. So yeah, we were kind of laughing about that, but then thinking, well, actually, probably for a lot of couples, that is a big thing, isn't it? And if you're both irritable at the same time, crikey.
Yeah, this is it. I think they just learned to avoid me when I was like that, just giving me space, which sometimes that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
go for a walk.
But yeah, fresh air.
Well,
That's it. Lifestyle things come into it as well, don't they? It's not just all about HRT, it's lifestyle.
Complete segue that's probably off on a tangent. But I tried pickleball for the first time last night, playing pickleball. Oh, it's like paddle. It's like a cross between tennis, badminton, squash, paddle, like a little plastic ball. Yeah. Did it for 2 hours. Absolutely loved it. I was like smashing it around everywhere. And so yeah, it's just getting a bit of exercise, isn't it? Sometimes if you're able to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And yeah, that was just, I'd enjoyed it, so I wanted to get it, shoehorn it in there somewhere.
I've never heard of that. Sounds good though.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Just going back to the World Menopause Month, I did some reading up on it. I believe that one of the main themes is going to be wellness, and obviously, you know, we're not a podcast that's going to give any advice on that sort of thing. But is that, I know Keller is very, very into researching non-medical routes to easing the symptoms of perimenopause. You mentioned before that you're against taking medication generally. Is that sort of an arena that you think is worth looking into for people who are going through this?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. It's like I say, I mean, even some women don't want to or can't go on HRT. So I know what you're saying about HRT. But yeah, if you can't or you don't want to, there are other things. I mean, obviously, nothing's going to replace lost hormones. Only HRT is going to do that. But there are things that you can do to ease the symptoms. I mean, it's like we're just saying exercise, and it doesn't have to be vigorous exercise, just getting out in nature, walking around, fresh air, you know, anything like that raises your dopamine levels. Because when our estrogen depletes, that means our dopamine depletes as well. And that's what causes the low mood. So getting out in nature, fresh air, it always makes you feel a bit better, doesn't it? Things like that. Your diet. And when I say that, I don't mean go on a diet. Just watch what you're eating. They say try and cut your sugar levels right down because sugar doesn't do much good. Well, it doesn't anyway, does it? But they do say in perimenopause, just watch your sugar intake. Dark chocolate is very good in menopause. So that's a plus, I always think, because at least we won't feel guilty about eating chocolate.
What's the reason? What's the reason for that?
Yeah, there is a reason. So basically, when we're going through menopause, it's not just a hormonal shift. It's like a neurological event as well. So we've got neural pathways in our brain that when we get to a certain age, they start to shut down, and that causes some of the issues with mental health. But when these neural pathways shut down, we develop new neural pathways in menopause and post-menopause. And it's been proven that if we eat dark chocolate that's got a 70% cacao rate and above, it feeds the new neural pathways and it strengthens them and makes them healthier. So you're helping your brain.
Ah.
Yeah. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. We can eat chocolate without guilt.
Well, I love dark chocolate, so I'll be stocking up on that. I've got a reason to.
Really good. Yeah. Yeah. There's also
That's really interesting.
It is, isn't it? I read a book by, she's called Dr. Louise Mosconi, and it's called The Menopausal Brain. It's a bit of a heavy read, but it's really, really good. And it's taught me loads of things about your brain during menopause. That's one of them. But there's all sorts of things. And I think if you know what's happening and why it's happening, it's not as scary. If you understand why something's happening and why you're feeling as you are, I always think it's not as scary and you deal with it in a different way. I don't know.
That's all part of it. It's all part of breaking the stigma is increasing awareness and education. I want to bring PC in on this, on the chat, producer Catherine. Is it possible for us to put links in the podcast posting to these books that Amanda's suggesting?
She says yes, she can add them to the comments.
There we go. Fantastic.
She's on it. She's on it. She's on it. Because it is interesting, because I think as well, one thing I was chatting to some people about, and it might have been Keller actually previously, is that our parents didn't necessarily talk about this very much. Not that we're particularly older, but that even 20 years ago, it was something that just wasn't talked about at all. And I remember Keller telling me a story, I'm sure she won't say, about her mum, and say, well, I went through it at whatever age and never told Gallup and never explained it, hid everything from her. So you kind of think, I think some of our generation think, oh, I'm going through this for the first time. It must have been fine for everybody going before me because nobody ever mentioned it. But that was more a societal thing, that people just didn't talk about it and just kept it inside.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like you saying earlier on, Chris, about the GPs and everything. GPs, when they're doing the medical training, they have a maximum of half a day training on menopause. And this is something that affects 51% of the population. And it's not will it or won't it. If you're a woman and you reach that age, you're going to go through menopause. So why do they only have that minimal training? I was actually at the doctor's yesterday, and I was talking about HRT, and the doctor that I saw, he was quite young. Well, he only qualified 4 years ago. And it was quite refreshing because some of the things I was talking about is, I don't mean this in a condescending way to him, but he sent to know for a change what he was talking about to do with menopause and HRT. So I actually said to him, I said, it's really refreshing and I feel good coming to speak to you because, you know, I feel supported speaking to you. And he openly said, I only qualified 5 years ago. He said, people before me, doctors, haven't had any training on it. He said, if we do get more training on it now, he said, but if we want additional training, we've got to seek that out ourselves. And that's not right. There's a crucial need for more awareness, both for us and in the medical profession. It's just, it's not good enough. Women aren't supported enough. And this leads to all sorts of things, mental health issues, wrong diagnosis. It infuriates me. I get quite passionate about this because it's something, like I say, that all women go through, and there should be more support and more awareness. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like I've learned a lot today. around that. I'm going to be, I think I'm probably going to have to read a couple of those books as well and try and get
I've got
prepared
loads
for
of
when the
information I can
time
give you.
comes. Yeah, no, yeah, that would be great. I mean, I was going to say, I think I'm on the way, but I think it will. But I'm quite lucky because I have regular blood tests because I've my stem cell transplant that I had a while ago.
Right.
So I have regular MOTs, so it's quite good. I think hopefully anything would get picked up, a change in hormone level.
Well, no.
Oh, right. Oh, well, it won't then. No, we just have to wait for the
So
anger.
basically, if you go, so this is to do with HRT and going to your doctors. So if you went to the doctor and said, I wanted HRT, if they say, we'll do a blood test to see if you need it, you say, no, I don't want a blood test, because at this time, your hormones will be going like this up and down all the time. So if you had a blood test today at 10 o'clock, your estrogen levels could look absolutely normal and your progesterone and testosterone. If you go again tomorrow or later on today, they could be on the knees. So it depends what time you have that blood test. So basically, if you go to the doctors today and said, look, I think I'm perimenopausal, I've got symptoms X, Y, and Z, I want a HRT. If a woman goes and she's over the age of 45 and she presents with one or more symptoms of perimenopause, the first line treatment offered should be HRT without a blood test. So then they will give you the HRT, you will take it for 3 months, and then after you've taken it for 3 months, you go back, then they're meant to do a blood test, and then your levels will be reflective of the hormones they've given you. If the hormones they've given you are adequate to bring your levels back up to where they should be, then that's fine. You'd stay on the same HRT prescription.
Okay.
If they're not, so if they're slightly low, then they would tweak your HRT level, and then it would carry on until your levels were as they should be.
So, is this the sort of information that have you found this information from the books you've mentioned, or is
the books? And I also did a course for GPs. So
right.
Dr. Louise Newson, who's my hero, because she sort of brought everything to the forefront, and that's another book as well. I can recommend that. I think it was 5 years ago, she designed a course for GPs so they could be more knowledgeable, so that they could support women and advise them and prescribe the right drugs, etc. And then 2 years ago, she opened it up to the public. So I did that. And she had modules every now and again. In fact, I've not been on for a while, so I need to go and look if she's adding anything else. But yeah, I did the GP course. But that doesn't mean to say I'm medically trained, because obviously
it's just
the knowledge.
Like Nicola said, I mean, learned so much in this podcast, and there's so much more to be done on education. Obviously, you're Forbes Menopause Champion. Is there anything in the pipeline for October that you can mention to us?
We've been speaking to Laura. We've actually got a Teams meeting on Thursday just to see if we can come up with some ideas about getting people to be more open about it. But I was thinking that maybe we could set up like a little clinic, a couple of lunch times in the staff room if people want to come along. Because again, I think if I'm actually sat there, people might come and speak to me rather than approaching me individually and, having to
Oh, producer Catherine says yes. Yes, with 2 exclamation marks. She's thrilled. She thinks that's a good idea.
I would do that. I could do that every month. You know what I mean? If I did it once a month.
I think it'd be useful for the mental health subgroup to for you to be part of that, actually, because of the impacts that menopause has on mental health, but also for us to compare notes, because one of the things that we've struggled with internally is we've had clinics during Mental Health Week and what have you, and the take-up is pretty poor because of that stigma. So I'd be interested to see what sort of take-up you get in these clinics. So as I say, compare notes to see how we can sway people. I think it's probably slightly different because, as you say, every woman is going to go through it at some point. And I'd be interested to see how many people who maybe aren't yet going through it turn up just to get that education. Because I think it sounds like for you and certainly for Kelly, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it does. And you don't think that's it, because you always think as a woman, don't you, Nicola? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you think about menopause and it's way in the future, isn't it? And
Oh, absolutely.
you never think you're old enough, do you? Because in here
No.
we're still like 20 odd, aren't we, or younger?
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden you're like in your 40s, you think, what? No, that's
Yeah,
going to affect
I'm
me.
not going through that. That's not me.
No.
Well, I remember
Yeah,
when,
it does. It sneaks up.
yeah, sorry. I remember when Keller started to realise that it might be perimenopause. She was suffering from hot flushes at night. She wasn't able to sleep, and I sort of tentatively suggested in bed one night, "Is it menopause?" And I got my head bitten off, um, and then it was like that was almost confirmation in a way. So yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, but it's fascinating. I think there's a lot to think about after today as well.
Yeah.
A
And
lot of researching.
There's I don't know if I've got time to cover it now, but there's a lot more about HRT that I was gonna have. I got time to talk about HRT?
Absolutely, yeah,
Go for it.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a lot of stigma around HRT, negative things, because it was way back, I think it was 2002, the WHI, Women's Health Institute, published a paper. And this paper was actually leaked. It shouldn't have come out. And they'd done some research on women. It was basically inaccurate, the research that they'd done. They'd done the research on women that were 63 and above, who'd already had heart conditions, who'd had different types of cancer. And the research was done on, sorry, she's saying this battery's going to go. The research was done on synthetic HRT. So the paper was leaked. It hadn't been signed off by medical professionals. And it said that if you're on HRT, you are going to get heart disease and breast cancer. So overnight, nearly every woman that was on HRT obviously came off it, because you would, wouldn't you?
Mm.
And that scaremongering, unfortunately, has stuck today. And I think that, well, it is partly why GPs don't want to prescribe as well. 5 years later, another paper was issued, which was more transparent of who this tested on. It was a more accurate paper, but unfortunately, that paper didn't make the headlines, so nobody was aware of it. Mm. Now, today, the HRT is completely different. It's not synthetic. The synthetic HRT that they used to prescribe was made from horse urine, which, why would you want that anyway? And it was oral. So obviously, if any tablet's oral, it passes through your liver, which kicks off your clotting effects, which can lead to stroke, it can lead to heart disease, it can lead to cancers. So the HRT that's available now is so safe. Firstly, it's body identical. It's actually made from yams. So it mimics identically the hormones that we produce. And it's also transdermal. So it's through your skin. It's not via a tablet. So the estrogen is either through a patch or a gel or a spray. And you stick, if it's a patch, so I use patches. So if it's a patch, you just stick that on, you change it twice a week, you can forget about it. If you use the gel, that's applied daily, and you put it on your limbs, depending what your level of prescription is, depending how many limbs you have to use. So if you're on like 50 milligram, you'd put it on 2 arms, because it's 25 milligrams per pump. And then there's the spray. The spray is not meant to be quite as reliable. So it's got like a big bulbous thing on it. You put it on your arm, spray it, and it's meant to absorb into your skin. But the reports that I've heard back, the spray is not as reliable as the gel and the pump. So that's the estrogen. The progesterone, that is actually a tablet, but it's called Utrogestan, and it's micronized progesterone. So again, that's made from yams. And even though it passes through your liver, because it's not synthetic and it's all natural, the risk is minute. You're at more risk of getting breast cancer from having a glass of wine every night than you are of taking HRT. And as for the heart disease, it doesn't encourage heart disease. It actually protects against heart disease. It protects against heart disease, osteoporosis. So if you're not on HRT and you're menopausal, 1 in 2 women will break a bone because of osteoporosis. So it protects against that, protects against bowel cancer, type 2 diabetes. There's studies now as well to prove that it's actually offering some sort of protection against dementia. So even
is that because it's keeping your estrogen levels up, Amanda?
That's exactly why.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's keeping you in, because estrogen is a natural inflammatory, anti-inflammatory. So if you've not got the estrogen you need, your body's inflamed, your organs are inflamed. So it causes disease. So arthritis, cancer, dementia, Parkinson's. And so when your levels are right and your estrogen's there and it's kicking in, as well as your progesterone as well and your testosterone, it helps to protect your body. So even though you might not have symptoms that are bothering you enough to think, oh, I'm going to go on HRT, just put these symptoms to a side for 1 second and focus on it's protecting your body. It's adding to longevity. It's saving your life. You're living longer. If you take HRT, you're living longer because it's protecting you.
One thing that I found really interesting as well is because I've listened to a couple of podcasts about nutrition and the menopause, and there was a nutritionist on Gabby Logan's Midpoint podcast, and I like that because you've got sort of people in their 40s talking about different things that affect them. But she was saying she was a nutritionist at one of the universities in London, and saying that they were actually doing a big study at the moment, and they were using the Zoe app. So you can the glucose app. So you wear a patch and it measures your glucose levels when you have, so that when you have certain foods, it will see if your glucose spikes or not. And my partner's a doctor and is obsessed with glucose, like the glucose goddess, all of this sort of stuff, loves it. But they were saying that they could actually draw the data from the Zoe app, and they were using it to monitor what foods affected women during menopause and what helped, what didn't. You obviously have to sign that you're happy for it to be used and stuff. But I thought that's really, really interesting because it's modern tech. That then if you're interested, if you're thinking, well, actually my glucose spikes, it's not necessarily you eat something sugary and your glucose spikes. It could be carbs at a certain time of day. And it's all learning about how your body and how it's changing and how it responds to different food types. And I thought that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, it is. It is, because I have read something. I'm not sort of very knowledgeable on this, so, but I know that your body has, when you're going through menopause, is it you have less resistance. It's either you have less resistance or more resistance to insulin, whichever's the negative side of it. I don't know, because I've not read enough about that bit. But that's why if you go on HRT and your estrogen goes up, that's why it protects against type 2 diabetes. Because that's your insulin, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's so interesting. The more I read, it just baffles me. I just wish there was more information out there for people to read and see and learn.
Well, we'll have those links in the show notes.
Yes.
So if just one other person reads it, it's worth it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was all fascinating.
Another superb guest. We do.
Thank you.
We're good at picking them, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, that's helped me personally, no end, I think. So, but yeah, you were brilliant, Amanda. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for coming on.
Letting me come on.
And I hope it wasn't as scary as you initially thought it might be. Good.
So it was easy, wasn't it? It's easy.
It's easy. Yeah. No, thank you for letting me come on, because it's good to get the word out and everything, isn't it? So
yeah,
I just hope people have benefited from it.
I'm sure they will. Sure they will. So
absolutely, thank you.
So we're about to wrap up the podcast, and we were talking before, Nicola, about having a sign off, because we don't have one. And
we don't. We need one.
It just sort of drifts off, doesn't it? So we need like a Jerry Springer type end quote, or a what's his chops from Crime Watch? Is it Nick Owen or something? Don't have nightmares. So I think what we said was that if people in the comments want to give us a suggestion, clean suggestions, for a sign off, then we'll pick the best one.
Absolutely, we'll have a little mini competition.
So how with
no prizes. So no, but yeah, another fantastic podcast. Thank you everybody for that. It was
Yes.
really interesting chat.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we'll see you next
next
time.
month,
Oh, there
yeah.
you go. Next month. Thank you.